Oh, hello, great readers. I'm Belchan.
I'm Nimikung.
I'm Banchan.
In this class, I'll read to all of you a part of Great Expectations.
As.
Ah.
Great Expectations. Charles Dickens. Chap. 40 Sec 1. As I could the safety of my dreaded visitor. Poirot. This thought pressing on me when I awoke. Held their thoughts in a confused concourse at a distance. The impossibility of keeping him concealed in the chambers was self-evident. It could not be done, and an attempt to do it would inevitably engender suspicion. True. I had no avenger in my service now, but I was looked after by an inflammatory old female, assisted by an animated ragbag whom she called her niece. And to keep a room secret from them would be to invite curiosity and exaggeration. They both had weak eyes, which I had long attributed to their chronically looking in at keyholes. And they were always at hand when not wanted. Indeed, that was their only reliable quality besides larceny. Not to get up a mystery with these people. Contrary. The means of getting a light. Not stumbling on the means after all. To come with his lantern. And in groping my way down the black staircase, I fell over something. And that something was a man crouching in a corner. As the man made no answer when I asked him what he did there, but eluded my touch in silence, I ran to the lodge and urged the watchman to come quickly, telling him of the incident on the way back, the wind being as fierce as ever. Lamps on the staircase. There. Rooms. So, lighting my candle at the watchman's, and leaving him standing at the door, I examined them carefully, including the room in which my dreaded guest lay asleep. All was quiet, and assuredly no other man was in those chambers. It troubled me that there should have been a lurk on the stairs, on that night of all nights in the year. And I asked the watchman. The door, where he had admitted at his gate any gentleman who had perceptibly been dining out. Yes, he said, at different times of the night. 2. One lived in Fountain Court, and the other 2 lived in the lane, and he had seen them all go home. Again, Hart had been in the country for some weeks, and he certainly had not returned in the night, because we had seen his door with his seal on it as we came upstairs, the night being so bad. Sir, said the watchman, as he gave me back my glass, welcome if you have come in at my gate. Besides them 3 gentlemen that I have named, I don't call to mind another since about 11 o'clock. My uncle, I muttered. You saw him? Yes. Person with him, I repeated. I judge the person to be with him, returned the watchman. The person stopped. When he stopped to make inquiry of me, the watchman had not particularly noticed. He should say a working person. To the best of his belief, he had a discoloured kind of clothes on, under a dark coat. The watchman made more out of the matter than I did, and naturally, not having my reason for attaching weight to it, when I had got rid of him, which I thought it ought to do without prolonging explanations. My mind was much troubled by these two circumstances taken together, whereas they were easy, evanescent solution of parches. For instance, some dine out or diner at home, who had not gone near this watchman's gate, brought someone with him to show him the way still. Trained. Change of a few hours had made me. I lighted my fire, which burnt with a raw pale flare at that time of the morning, and fell into a doze before it. I seemed to have been dozing a whole night when the clock struck 6. As there was full an hour and a half between me and daylight, I dozed again, and, waking up uneasily, with prolix conversations about nothing in my ears, and making fun of the wind in the chimney, at length falling off into a profound sleep from which the daylight woke me with a start. All this time I had never been able to consider my own situation, nor could I do so yet. I had not the power to attend to it. I was greatly dejected and distressed, but in an incoherent wholesale sort of way, as to forming any plan for the future. I could as soon have formed an elephant. When I opened the shutters and looked out at the wet wild morning, all of a leaden hue, when I walked from room to room, when I sat down again shivering before the fire, waiting for my laundress to appear, I thought how miserable I was, but hardly knew why, or how long I had been so, or on what day of the week I made the reflection, or even who I was that made it. At last, from her dusty broomkin testified surprise at sight of me in the fire, asleep, and how the breakfast preparations were to be modified accordingly. Then I washed and dressed while they knocked the furniture about and made a dust. And so, in a sort of dream or sleep waking, I found myself sitting by the fire again, waiting for him to come to breakfast. By and by, his door opened and he came out. I could not bring myself to bear the sight of him, and I thought he had a worse look by daylight. I do not even know, said I, speaking low as he took his seat at the table, by what name to call you. That's it. Dear boy, you assumed some name, I suppose. Yes. Dear boy. Why? S. Dear boy. What is your real name? I asked him in a whisper. Magwitch, he answered, in the same tone. O Warmint. He answered quite seriously, and used the word as if it denoted some profession. When you came into the temple last night, said I, puzzling to wonder whether that could really have been last night, which seemed so long ago. Yes. When you came in at the gate and asked the watchman the way here. Was me? Well, I didn't take particular notice, he said, dubiously, not knowing the ways of the place. But I think there was a person. See, I hope not, said he, giving his neck a jerk with his forefinger that made me turn hot and sick. Were you known in London? Not over and above. Boy. Which time, said he, with a sharp look. He nodded. first knowed Mr. Jiggers that way. It was on my lips to ask him what he was tried for. But he took up a knife, gave it a flourish, and with the words, "I'm Iden is worked out and paid for," fell to at his breakfast. He ate in a ravenous way that was very disagreeable, and all his actions were uncouth, noisy, and greedy. Some of his teeth had failed him since I saw him eat on the marshes, and as he turned his food in his mouth, and turned his head sideways to bring his strongest fangs to bear upon it, he looked terribly like a hungry old dog. If I had begun with any appetite, he would have taken it away, and I should have sat much as I did repelled from him by an insurmountable aversion, and gloomily looking at the cloth, and a heavy grubber. "Dear boy," he said, as a kind of apology when he made an end of his meal, "but I always was. If it had been in my constitution to be a lighter grubber, I might have got into lighter trouble. Similarly, I must have my smoke. When I was first hired out as shepherd to this side the world, it's my belief I should have turned into a melancholy mad sheep myself." As he said so, he got up from table, and putting his hand into the breast of the peacoat he wore, brought out a short black pipe, and a handful of loose tobacco of the kind that is called negro head. Having filled his pipe, he put the surplus tobacco back again, as if his pocket were ajar, and he took a live coal from the fire with the tongs, and lighted his pipe belt, and then turned round on the hearthrug with his back to the fire, and went through his favourite action of holding out both his hands for mine. "And this," said he, dandling my hands up and down in his, as he puffed at his pipe, "and this is the gentleman what I made. The real genuine one. It does me good for to look at you. Pill? All I stipulate. To stand by and look at you." I released my hands as soon as I could. Condition: what I was chained to, and heavily, became intelligible to me as I heard his hoarse voice. "Besides, I mustn't see my gentleman footing in the mire of the streets. There mustn't be no mud on his boots." To be continued.